Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, Spider-Woman, issue number 4. I love this cover. Oh my god. I kind of wish this was used for more of a gothic horror book, like a Ravencroft book, because very Call of Cthulhu vibes with this one. Like there's the Soul Tower and the one person, the Watcher on the wall. I love this. I absolutely love this. Nothing like this happened in here necessarily, although you can get the idea of the blueprint for the imagine. Anyway, I hope that they keep this cover concept in mind when they do another book that has to, like maybe a Conan story. That would work. All right, let's get talk about who made this comic book. Boom, we're going to talk about the comic book itself. I'm going to get into the spoilers without actually giving away the spoilers. How am I going to do that? Honestly, your guess is as good as mine. Let's see how it works out. It's just something I made up right now. All right, Carla Pacheco on writing, Perry Perez, on art, Frank D'Armata doing the colors, and VC's Travis Lanham doing the letters. Jung-Yen Yoon, butchered that name, and I apologize for that awesome cover, and there's a variant cover out there. Okay, let's get started. So we've got a forward in the book. Yay, I love forwards. I love the forwards. The preamble tells you the origin and then the most recent stuff that happened. But we also get a little bit of a extra flashback origin in here, which I'm kind of okay with because it's become a staple of this book, and I'd probably miss it at this point if I didn't see it anymore. That's right, 4 issues in, I'd have missed it if it wasn't there. I'd have been very sad that it wasn't there. So, yeah, homonym on that word. Anyway, we get more on Mom and why she's actually still alive. Also, something that I noticed, they changed the spelling of her name. Instead of M-E-R-E-M, it's M-I-R-I-M. So, a little bit of a change up there. I'm actually okay with that. Why? Because it's the proper spelling. It's Miriam. So, it actually comes from the Arabic. That's the Arabic way of saying, or the Semitic language way of saying Miriam. You know, so Mary. Anyway, I like that they did the I's instead of the E's. So it's a change that I'm totally okay with. And it's a little thing. I bet you most people just completely missed it. But being an English instructor, an English professor, if you will. So we get a bit of a different origin story based on another origin story that I didn't actually know existed. And this, my peeps, is the reason why editor's notes are so important. Whoever's doing the notes. The editor's notes are very important. I love when an editor's note shows up because sometimes I actually need to read those. I mean, I used to have to read the hell out of it back when I was a kid. It's one of the reasons why I'm so knowledgeable about comic books, because I'll see an editor's note or 6 in a story and I'd be like, well, clearly I have to get all these comic books to understand what's going on, like really in detail. Why does Professor Bill know so much about comic books? Because I paid attention to editor's notes back in the freaking 60s, 70s, and 80s. Mostly in the 70s and 80s. 60s, they were just starting out. Wasn't really too many reason to have editor's notes. But in case they did, I was there for them. After the fact, I was born in 75. But you get the gist, right? Anyhow, so there's an editor's note in here for a comic book, actually for 5 issues, it turns out, of a comic book, a Brian Michael Bendis Spider-Woman origin story I didn't even know existed. I'm positive I've seen that cover before, but for some reason it just never clicked that I had to get it. So whatever, whether you go to the Marvel Unlimited app, which I could, or if you go to your local comic book store, which I will, to get that trade paperback, boom, somebody's making some money off of that. That's how comic books and comic book retailers stay in business. So editor's notes keep the freaking comic book industry alive. Ba-da-dang. Anyhow, so that was a very important editor's note because it's one that I actually needed. So we see more on... Does anybody remember, just really quick side note relating to the comic book, you remember when Hank Pym hit Janet Van Dyne and it wasn't supposed to be a big hit, just a little hit, you know, like one of the old 70s hits where you like, you know, you kind of backhand somebody or give a woman a slap. You know, you got to keep your women in line, right? That's the way that, I mean, Reed Richards used to slap the hell out of freaking Susan Storm all the time in the Kirby Lee issues, but Reed Richards never got in trouble for that. But Hank Pym, twice he slaps his girl. The one time it's like, you can't do that to Janet. It was just drawn really rough where it looks like he hauled off and sent her flying across the room. And she wasn't even in her miniaturized form. I mean, he jacked this girl up, and they really emphasized it in the freaking Ultimates comic books. Anyhow, so in here, freaking Spider-Woman goes and backhands a dog. oh, it's a cloned dog and it's very fragile, and it's pointed out that it's fragile, but she backhands this dog, and I'm looking at this and here I'm like, yo, all of a sudden when you hear a knock on the door and it's not Octavia or anybody like that, it's freaking John Wick, you know you brought this on yourself. Okay, moving on. So, like, dude, a guy couldn't get away with smacking a dog. I don't know how that's okay. You don't go around smacking dogs. But something that, this was really cool. Perry Perez, he did a great job of this. I'm going to show you this image. Oh, that's going to fall back. I'm going to show you the image, specifically this image right here. See all these guys? Yeah, the different color hair. That's the only thing that's different about them, because not only are their uniforms the same, but their faces are the same. That comes into play later on in a freaking great action scene. It's not quite as great as the dinosaur action scene in the previous issue, but it was still one of those great action scenes that at this point it's becoming a trope that that this team, the whole team, Pacheco and Perez, are actually getting into at this point. Remember, mind you, from all my other comic book reviews, tropes aren't always bad. There are good tropes and there are bad tropes. There are good tropes that get used too often to become bad tropes, specifically for individual writers or artists. In this particular case, this comic book team, they're breaking into a trope where there's going to be 1 or 2 pages of insane action with the panels going all over the place, and I look at that as a very good trope. Utilize the abilities, utilize every tool in your tool chest. It doesn't have to be in every single issue that you use all the tools, but there's some things that we're going to come to expect in a comic book. I expect the opening page that is going to give the little bit of a recap with the darkness in the back. I love those. And like I said, I will miss them if they're not here anymore. I would also miss these crazy freaking action scenes. I wonder if I can actually find it really quick. Yep, really easy to find. I'm just gonna, oh my God, that's all you get. That's all you get. Did you buy the comic book? Then you can just go and look at it yourself. If you didn't buy the comic book, shame on you. What's the matter with you? Go buy the comic book. Psst, why are you here? Anyhow, there's a very important part as far as the faces on there. Perez nailed it. Dude, I'm saying, probably the best tool in Pacheco's toolbox right now is Perez. So definitely utilize that. Holy crap. This dude, all their faces are the same. I looked at this panel. I didn't even think about it. I didn't even consider it. It's purposefully drawn the same, yet with the different hair colors, all of them different hair colors. So you got to give a little bit of praise really quick to Frank D'Armata. I'm saying that was a really good idea, because when they point out that the faces are all the same, it suddenly changes the ball game. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to change the ball game enough, because Octavia on here, I always got Octavia Butler every time I see Octavia on here. But anyway, Octavia is, dude, you know, there are points in here where sometimes I feel bad, because I know a lot of people, they don't like it when you say, you know, just kill this character. But I was literally thinking about with Octavia in here, I'm like, dude, they just need to kill this character. Spider-Woman just needs to straight up kill her character. Like, she killed her dad, kill this character also, because, like, she's not going to get better. If she does, it's not worth the wait, because she's doing some really bad stuff in here. And I really don't like it when someone is clearly outmatched, but they keep coming forward. In this particular case, you know, because you dealt a dirty blow. Anyway, whatever. There's a part in here where Spider-Woman actually says, I want to kill this character. Now, I'm not usually a fan of a character getting emotional, or not getting emotional. Emotions are great in comic books, just like in soap operas. They're freaking awesome. Hell, how come I don't see more glasses being thrown in people's faces and more comas in my comic books? I'm really upset by that. Anyway, what I enjoy seeing is when you have a character who isn't going to act irrationally. Spider-Woman has been acting irrationally, and I've been mostly letting that go. I've been letting it slide. I'm like, whatever. I believe that Carla Pacheco is a little bit new to comic books, so I'm just, I'm not going to be too critical about it. I'm not going to, take little points and whatnot, but I do have a problem when you make, especially a female character, too overly emotional. It's like, that's not a good trope. That's not the kind of trope that I want to see my characters fall into. You know what I'm saying? The characters I love, the characters I follow, I don't want to see them falling into that. And having a woman character who's just overly emotional, it's like, it's been done, and it's too, there's a very bad precedent set for that, But then in this issue, it explains why she's been emotional, And I couldn't help but to just sit. I had to put the comic book down gently and sit back with my hands up and say, okay, touche. That was a really good way to do it. And it's such a minor little thing. But when it keeps on happening, I'm like, get more emotional. Do it. Trope it up, baby. Because it made sense. My God, the things that happen, the stars that align when comic books suddenly make sense. Imagine that. Imagine that. Yeah, dude, this was a good book. Again, the crazy stuff that happens, the crazy scenes of just, panels everywhere. You can't give it up enough to Perez. More than anything, and this is no slouch on his art because he's got great art, but very specifically, some of the best stuff that I see this guy do is those panel layouts. So he's just got, it could be in a web, it could be all over the place, and it's like, wow, how do you pull that stuff off? And even then, there's goofy stuff that I just say, this isn't gonna work. Like the very last issue, the very last page of this issue. I looked at the formation of those bullets and I'm like, oh, come on. But I can't help but to sit back and just smile. But like, I don't know, you ever get mad at one of your kids? And you're just like, hey, you don't do stuff like that again. But in the back of your mind, you're like, kind of proud of little bastard. That was pretty good. I get like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at the silliness of the bullets, and I just say, whatever. It's still a good. You can clearly see what it's in the pattern of. That being said, it also kind of works because there's like 2 pages worth of a letters column in here. By the way, congratulations to everybody who got in there. What do you have? There's a part where Carla Pacheco goes and says, hey, by the way, you're all going to hate me in the next issue because I'm not going to show you the last page. I am going to show you the next issue's cover on here. Oh, what does that say? It says Legacy issue number 100. First off, I'm sad. Like, there's only been 100 issues of Spider-Woman comic books. That's disappointing. But anyway, boom. And they were only 4 issues away from that. Whatever. So we're going to have a Legacy issue, which means it's probably going to be an extra $1 at least. I'm okay with it, as long as, there's good content in there, as long as the story actually continues following what we're seeing in the current story arc. But she does say at the end, by the way, it's going to get really goofy and you guys are going to hate me. Okay, hopefully that lessens the blow. And plus the bullet formation that we just got finished seeing on the final page in here. I guess it's all just like a lead-in to how goofy it's going to get. I hope it doesn't get too goofy. I'm not a fan of slapstick, but whatever. She warned us. We were forewarned. So forewarned is forearmed, right? Anyway, I'm looking forward to the next issue. I'm looking forward to all these issues. These are badass. And again, more totally sexy freaking covers like this because hells yes. There was a lot of explanation in this comic book. Case in point, why she got that costume. There's also the hope for the people who don't like the costume. I don't know why you don't like the costume. I actually really love this costume. This is a really nice costume. But that being said, I could see some people, saying they don't like the costume change. That's fine. Change is dangerous, right? For some people, it's cool. There's a reason in here for her to get rid of this costume if she so chose. Or there's a reason for her to have that, the guy in the chair, probably wouldn't be a guy, but it might be a guy. Who knows? This was a good book. Character development and everything. I'm digging on it. Anyway, guys, I'm out. That's more than enough for this issue, right? Like the video, subscribe, and all the things that YouTubers say. Watch an ad. Watch an ad. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.